Hi viewers, greetings of the day to all of you. We welcome you on behalf of NRI Legal Services. NRI Legal Services is a global firm. It's handling all the property issues of NRI, and we have been holding a lot of sessions pertaining to property issues being faced by NRIs. Today we have come back to you with another session. During this session, I will be assisted by my legal associate, Advocate Xenia. First, let me introduce myself. I am Col Jatinder Singh. I am the legal head here and a law graduate. And Xenia, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, this is Advocate Xenia Nagpal. I am a legal associate with the NRI Legal Services.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, today's topic of Ask Me Anything session is buying and selling property by NRIs and what are the tax implications involved. We have seen with a period of time that NRI is facing a lot of problem to sell their properties, and in case they want to invest money or they want to buy properties in India, they also face a lot of issues. Today you are welcome to ask any questions, any query to us. It will be our endeavor to answer your queries, and you're most welcome to shoot your questions. We are here to address the issues concerning buying, selling property by you, or any other issues connected with the property issues. We are here to answer those queries. And also side by side, when I will be handling your queries, we'll be discussing the tax implications involved in buying and selling of the property. And the major issue is why the NRIs should buy property in India. What is the purpose of their investment in India? The basic purpose is very clear, whether they want to earn money or they want to have connection with the roots. If they have to earn money, then there are certain considerations which they have to keep in mind. That is, when they are buying property, it should be in a good locality. It should fetch a good rental value. Good rental value means that you earn good income. You can earn good income from the property only if the property is in a good locality. And secondly, when you are buying property, you must see that there is a developed infrastructure in the locality. Developed infrastructure means that there are developed areas like you have medical facilities around by, you have shopping complexes around by, and it's very easy to approach that property. So these are basic things which you must keep in mind when you're buying property or investing property in India. And one more thing, that if you have to buy property in India, what kind of documents you should scrutinize before buying the property in India, because it's very important. Subsequently, if any dispute arises, then you must handle that dispute only if you have proper documents with you. What are the basic documents which you must have when you're buying property? These should be thoroughly checked and scrutinized. First of all is the title deed. If the title deed of the property is clear, then you can go for buying that property. Title deed also should show the sequence of the buyers in the past, so that you should must know that who were the past buyers and how the property has devolved upon the present seller, so that the sequence of ownership is clear and subsequently it won't raise any issue regarding the title deed, that is the ownership documents. Then you must see that the property is recorded in the mutation documents. Mutation document should be thoroughly checked. Then you also should see that besides the mutation documents, there should be proper no objection certificate from the revenue authorities, and also see that in case you are buying a flat in a society, that there is a occupancy certificate or there is a possession certificate and there is a clearance certificate given by the concerned authorities. That should be clearly mentioned. Any question so far?
Yes, sir, we do have a question here. It is from Miss Kritika. She says that I have to purchase an independent house in India. I have learned that it is a very tedious process, and a lot of documentation is involved. Can you guide me? What all documents will be required? Will I have to prepare and possess before buying the property?
Okay. Okay, I was just handling, I'll handle this question. I was explaining certain documents which are required. I explained already that title deed is one of the document which you must have, and subsequently I told you that the no objection certificate from the concerned society and the revenue authorities should be there. And thirdly, the document which is important, that occupancy certificate should be clearly should be there, that this property is worth occupying, and there should be completion certificate that the property has been completed, it's worth staying there. And also you should ensure that the encumbrance certificate should be obtained from the concerned authority, that there is no encumbrance on the property. So these are the basic documents which you must check before buying the property in India. Any other question?
Yes, sir. We have another question from Mr. Rahul saying that I am non-resident Indian of Canada. I have come to India with the purpose to invest some money in commercial property. Can you guide us what basic point should be the part of agreement to sell or the sale deed so that I'm not cheated by the seller?
Okay. I'll handle this question also. Who is this gentleman?
Mr. Rahul.
Okay, thank you Mr. Rahul for your question. Now you have planned to buy a commercial property in India, and you want to know that what kind of issues should be involved in the agreement to sell so that subsequently you are not cheated. What are the main points which you must mention in the agreement to sell, or even the sale deed? I will further elaborate. In these two documents, first of all, when you are buying a property, it should be mentioned clearly that the name of the buyer and the seller along with the complete addresses. Also you should see that what is the consideration amount involved, and what will be the mode of payment. Like mode of payment can be by way of check, by way of demand draft, or through electronic transfer, or that should be clearly specified. And also the area of the property should be clearly mentioned, that the dimensions of the property should be mentioned, the direction, left, right, occupancy of the property should be mentioned, so that the property is clearly demarcable. And also when you are finalizing the agreement, there should be witnesses to the agreement, and also in the sale deed the witnesses are must. And you must ensure that the property is just not sold on the basis of general power of attorney. There should be proper sale deed, and this sale deed is required to be registered with the registering authorities. We have seen with our experience that sometimes people avoid to pay registration charges, and they sell property on the basis of agreement to sell or on the basis of general power of attorney. That should be avoided, because subsequently otherwise there will be dispute, and it will be very difficult to resolve that dispute through the court unless you have a proper sale deed which should be duly registered, and the proper stamp charges, registration charges have to be paid on the sale deed. So these main points should be clearly mentioned in the sale deed like agreement to sell, so that you are not cheated subsequently. Any other question?
Yes, sir. We have another question from Mr. Chiranjeev. He asks, I am planning to buy a flat from a builder in a newly built society. I have made payment already. Builder has not provided me with any documents so far. What should I ask for from the builder so that my title to the property is not disputed at later stage? So,
okay.
May I please answer?
Okay, please handle this question.
So, Mr. Chiranjeev, thank you for your query. It is very important to clarify here that since you have already made payment, I assume that you must have had the builder buyer agreement or the agreement to sell. Now further on, when you move on, you must ask builder to provide you with certain other documentations. Such documentations would include your occupancy certificate, your possession letter, completion certificate, sanctioned building plans, and also the title document of the land on which the flat is constructed.
Okay, good. That is right. So these are the basic documents when you're buying flat in a society.
Yes.
I hope it is clear. And any other question will come?
Yes, sir. We have another question coming up from Sanchit.
Okay.
He says that I am a non-resident Indian in UK. I have a property in Mumbai. Can I sell that property in Mumbai through a general power of attorney?
Okay. Let me handle this question.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Mr. Sanchit, let me clarify here that you can buy the property through the power of attorney holder, and that too, power of attorney can be special power of attorney or general power of attorney. But when you're buying a property, it should be a general power of attorney, clearly specifying the power given to you, that you have the right to buy you have the authority to buy the property. And when you're buying property through the general power of attorney, then as I have already explained, that all the documentation required should be thoroughly checked when you're buying property, and also we covered that what should be part of the agreement to sell or the sale deed, that should be also clearly specified. And moreover, let me further clarify that the property should not be bought on the basis of general power of attorney as such. So the individual who has been given general power of attorney, he can buy property on your behalf, but the documentation should not be on the basis of general power of attorney. There should be proper documentation done, that is, there should be proper sale deed which has to be duly registered. Only then it will be treated as a valid sale, and then only you will become the owner. I hope it is clear to you. Any other question?
Yes, sir. Moving on to another question. We have another question from Mr. Manit. He says, hello, I am currently living in Singapore and I have inherited a residential property in Mumbai from my grandfather. Since I'm planning to sell that property, will I be able to repatriate the sale proceeds which I have received from it? And also, what all documents do I need for the repatriation of the funds?
Okay, can you handle this question?
Sure, sir. Thank you, Mr. Manit, for your question. Since you want to repatriate the sale proceeds, as such, there are no restrictions on the repatriations of the proceeds. However, there is a general cap. That is, you cannot repatriate the sale proceeds which exceeds from $1 million
Right.
per financial year. For this, you will have to have your passport copy, and a few other documents, which would include identifying your address proof, etc.
Okay. So document, just now Xenia has said, I'll just add on what all documents would be required when you are buying the property. She just mentioned your address proof. Then you must be holding a PAN card. PAN card is, what is PAN card? PAN card is a permanent account number. Permanent account number is required whenever you buy property. And then there is a TAN number which is required when you have to buy the property. TAN, what is TAN number? TAN number is basically tax deduction account number. Tax deduction account number means that when you're buying property, you have to deduct the TDS from the seller when you're paying to the seller, and that TDS is to be deposited. This is also called tax collection account number, and this TAN card is issued by the income tax authorities. So besides your passport, your address proof, your TAN card, your PAN card, and also your OCI card or PAO card should be there. Only then
So we also require the tax certificates which are under 15 CA and CB form.
That's right. Okay.
Sir, can we move on to next question?
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. So next question we have is from Miss Afreen. She says, how much stamp duty and registration charges has to be paid for the residential property which I'm planning to buy in Amritsar?
Okay, so it is very specific question. Miss Afreen, you're planning to buy a property in Amritsar. So this is part of the Punjab state, and when you're buying property in your individual name, then the registration charges including stamp duty will be 6%, that is applicable to the females. And in the case of males, if the property is to be purchased in the state of Punjab, it is around 8%. And if it is to be purchased in the joint name, that is male and female, then it is 7%. And this stamp duty and registration charges vary from state to state. It is not fixed. Since you are buying property in Amritsar only, so specifically the percentage which I mentioned, that is pertaining to Punjab, and it is this percentage is of the total value of the property which is to be purchased.
Yes, sir.
Hope it is clear. Any other question?
Yes, sir. We have another question from Miss Mannat. She says that I am an NRI settled in Australia. I want to buy a property in India. What are the basic considerations I should keep in mind while purchasing the property?
Okay. Basic consideration you will handle?
Sure, sir. I'll handle.
Okay.
So thank you, Miss Mannat, for your question. I would like to clarify here that when an NRI is planning to buy a property in India, there are few considerations that one must keep in their mind. That such property is located in a very good locale. It must fetch you a very good rental value. It must have a good resale value. You can also buy a property with the purpose to staying connected with the roots and also with the purpose of investment.
Good. Very well explained. In the beginning also I tried to cover these issues, that why NRIs should invest money in India. The reasons, the question is also the same, and I hope it is clear. Ms. Mannat, thank you so much for your question. Any other question?
We have another question, sir. It is from Swati Grover. She says, I am planning to sell the residential property in Chandigarh. I am currently residing in USA. Is it mandatory to have a bank account in India to get the sale proceeds, or can I directly have the sale proceeds transfer in the USA account?
Okay. May I handle this question?
Sure, sir.
Okay. Ms. Swati, let me clarify to you that when you're planning to sell a property in Chandigarh, so you cannot directly transfer the sale proceeds in your USA account, because whatever sale proceeds are earned from that property, those sale proceeds are subject to taxation but in India. So since you have to pay tax, you must have NRI account in India. Firstly, the sale proceeds will go in that account, and when the property is sold, certain amount is earned from that property, so that amount is taxable. And it depends whether it is a capital gain tax, or it is a short-term capital gain, or it's a long-term capital gain, which I'll discuss in the subsequent part of our session in case we have time. But you cannot directly transfer the amount to your account in USA. So that amount must come to your NRI account, and you must have that NRI account in India before you sell the property. It's a mandatory requirement. I hope it is clear, Ms. Mannat. Thank you so much. Any other question?
We have another question from Parul Sharma. She says, I am an NRI settled in Canada. I have given POA to my cousin to buy property on my behalf in Jalandhar. Can he do so on my behalf, or will there be any objections from the concerned authorities?
Okay. I will handle.
Sure, sir. Thank you for your query. It is very important to say that since you want to buy a property, the POA must be a valid document. Just on the basis of POA, you cannot buy or sell a property. However, it must fulfill certain queries. A POA holder is eligible to execute such transaction on your behalf.
Right. And as Advocate Xenia has brought out, that POA should be a valid document. To be a valid document for the POA, it must be apostilled from the country where you are residing, and also once it is received India, it must be embossed within 3 months from the date of receipt to make it a valid document. Only then it can be used for the purpose it is given for. I hope it is clear. Any other question?
We have another question from Iknoor Sandhu. She says, I have a foreign currency account in India. As an NRI, Can I purchase a residential property by making a payment in foreign currency to the builder in cash? Someone told me that I can do so. Please inform.
Thank you, Ms. Sandhu, for your question. Whoever has told you that you can buy the property by paying entire money in cash is really misguiding you. You cannot do so. There are certain conditions which have to be duly followed, which have been imposed by Indian government while buying property or selling property in India. So first of all, you have to pay the money in Indian currency, and you cannot pay the money in foreign currency. And when you're paying money in Indian currency, and we must advise you that you should not pay the entire money in cash. Even if you're paying in cash, there should be proper receipt obtained from the buyer, from the builder. Only then, so that subsequently it is accounted for. And we would also advise you that preferably the entire payment should be made through electronic transfer, or it should be paid through demand draft or the check, so that subsequently if any dispute arises regarding that property, you are safe, and we can claim the money on your behalf in case some dispute arises. I hope it is clear, Mr. Kinor. Don't buy the property just by giving the money in cash, otherwise you may be cheated. Thank you so much. Any other question?
So we have another question from Mr. Raghav Sood. He says, I am residing in USA. My brother is staying in India. Can I purchase a property in India in a joint name along with my brother for the management of property? I am planning to fund the entire money for the said property. Please throw some light on this.
Okay. Buying property in joint name. We have seen with experience in NRI that but whoever NRI has bought property in joint name, they are having issues subsequently. Although there is no restriction imposed by RBI or by any government agency that you cannot buy property in the joint name, and NRI can buy property jointly with an Indian citizen in the joint name, and can even refund, can invest the entire money to buy that property. But it is advisable that you should avoid that. Otherwise, subsequently, when you want to sell the property, and there will be issues, because the proceeds of that property will go in the proportion in the name of your brother and yourself. And subsequently, if you tell your brother to relinquish his right in the property, he may not relinquish his right. Those issues may arise. But otherwise, if you are very confident about your brother, there is no restriction. You can buy property in joint name with your brother who is an Indian resident.
So, but one cannot buy a property with a foreign citizen. That is to be
foreign. Yeah, they cannot.
Yes.
An NRI cannot buy property in the joint name with a foreign citizen.
Yes. So we have another question from Mr. Arpit Sethi. He says, one of my friend wants to sell an agricultural land in India. The buyer is insisting that he will deduct TDS on the sale proceeds. I've been told by one of my relatives in India that the buyer cannot deduct TDS on sale proceeds. Can you please guide?
Okay. May I handle this question?
Sure, sir.
Okay. Mr. Arpit. Okay, thank you, Mr. Arpit, for your question. Let me clarify to you that on the agriculture land, whatever sale proceeds you get, those sale proceeds are not taxable, first of all. But it must qualify to be agriculture land as per the Income Tax Act. That is, it is not within the municipal limits of the city where the agriculture land is situated. So agriculture land means proper agriculture land not coming within the municipal limits of the city. So any income earned from that agriculture land is non-taxable, and whoever is guiding you that TDS has to be deducted, you can advise him and show him the income tax rules, that as per income tax rules you cannot deduct the TDS on the agriculture income.
Yes.
I hope it is clear. Any other thing? Any other question?
So yes, sir. We do have another question. It is from Varghese Samuel. She thanks for the sessions and further asks that please explain the tax implication in India and UK selling property in India. what are the rates for NRI on TDS and LTGC and tax implication in UK patriations, sale proceeds to UK?
Okay. Ms. Varghese, thank you for your question. I was trying to explain to you that I'll be discussing the tax implications involved in India on pertaining to TDS as well as the long-term capital gain, that is LTCG. And let me explain to you that what are the rates of TDS. It depends upon the amount of income you have made from the sale of the property. If the property sold amount is less than 50 lakhs or up to 50 lakhs, then the tax which is attracted on is 20% plus the cess involved. And if the amount is more than 5 crores, then it is 28.50% including the cess involved. And this rate varies from the amount which is earned during the sale of the property. For example, I'll say there are different amounts from up to 50 lakh, then 50 lakh to 1 crore, then it also varies from 1 crore to 2 crore, then 2 crore to 5 crore. And the maximum amount is above 5 crore, that is 28.50%, that is the TDS which the person has to deduct. And so far as the LTCG rates are concerned, that is long-term capital gain is concerned, I explained to you that the long-term capital gain and short-term capital gain is also there. Short-term capital gain is when you are selling a property within 2 years from the date you have purchased the property. And the long-term capital gain is when you are selling a property beyond 3 years from the date of purchase. And the long-term capital gain tax which is invited on the property, on the sale proceeds, is the tax which is applicable to the individual. For example, the tax bracket of the individual is maximum 30%, then 30% tax will have to be paid by him as long-term capital gain tax. So, and also for calculating the long-term capital gain, there is an indexation, and based on the indexation it is to be decided how much is the long-term capital gain. And whatever is the income and the profit earned on the sale of the property, the long-term capital gain is paid only on that portion of the income. I hope it is clear. Any other question?
So we had another question. This question says that I have been approached by my cousin to buy a property in Ludhiana, which is presently occupied by a tenant. He has told me that the property is available at a very cheap value. So should I invest the money in such property? Please advise.
Okay.
So may I please handle?
Yeah, please handle this question.
Yes. Thank you for your query. Please note that when you say that the property is currently occupied by a tenant, we assume here that the property is disputed, since it is a possible reasonable explanation that such property is illegally been occupied by such tenant. Probably this is the reason why such property is available for you to purchase at a cheap price. So we advise you against buying such property, because if you happen to purchase such land, such property, it will take you years to get your property vacated through the tedious process of litigation.
Okay. I hope we have no more questions.
No, sir, we don't have.
Okay. And let me conclude, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would also like to tell you here that there are certain laws which are governing the real estate projects in India, and those laws must be looked into when you are going for purchase of the property or giving a property on rents, or you are disposing of the property, buying, selling property, which are basically Indian Contract Act, that is 1872, then Transfer of Property Act, that is of 1882. And there are also laws like the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act, that is 2016, and also Foreign Exchange Management Act of 1999. Foreign Exchange Management Act is basically regulating and governing the finances involved in the sale and purchase of property by NRIs, and the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act is governing any dispute arising with the property buyer, between the property buyers and the seller. So these things have to be totally looked into, and during the course of this session we have gone through various aspects of buying and selling property and tax implications, like what kind of property should be purchased by NRIs. Yeah, one thing we have not touched, that is NRIs can buy only the residential and commercial property, but they cannot buy the agriculture land in India, and also they are prohibited to buy any plantation property or farmhouses. And even when they are selling such type of agricultural land or farmhouses, there is no restriction for that, because that is already owned by them, or they might have inherited such property, so that property can be sold by them, but they are restricted to buy this agricultural land properties, as I explained to you. So you have to be careful when you are buying a property, what considerations you should keep in mind, what kind of sale agreement you should enter into, and what are the various implications involved in buying and selling the property, as we have discussed during this course of session. We have tried to cover all the issues, and during the course of session there was a little technical hitch. We had to discontinue for a few minutes, and thanks to our technical team who had been able to restore this session, and we have been able to conclude this session with you, and we have covered almost all the questions which have been put, but few questions might have been left out, and I want to assure all the NRIs that whatever questions have been left out, will be coming back to you individually and answering all those questions. And besides that, if any one of you have any query relating to any issues relating to property matters, you are most welcome to shoot those queries to us, and you can send those queries at our website, that is NRI@Legal Services, query@NRILegalServices.com. You're most welcome to shoot your queries. We'll be in touch with you, and it is our endeavor to provide our services and assist you in all kinds of property matters, and otherwise also. You must have seen our services on the net. You are most welcome to approach us concerning any services you have to us. Thank you so much, and we thank you for attending this session and be with us, and we'll meet you in the next session soon. Thank you so much, and wish you all a very, very happy Diwali. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Xenia.